we're going to be starting off with the DNA viruses, right? And the first group of viruses that we're going to be talking about is going to be your herpes virus. So, herpes viruses are divided into different families. So, first, we are going to talk about the family which is alpha, and we have the first three human herpes virus 1, 2, and 3 in this family. So, when we talk about the human herpes virus 1, it is also called as HSV1 or herpes simplex 1. Right, so herpes simplex 1 is your human herpes virus 1. Herpes simplex virus 2 is going to be your human herpes virus 2, and VZV is called as the varicella and zoster virus. So it is causing two disease, varicella as well as zoster. Starting, the important part about the herpes families are that they form latency in some kind of nerves. That means once you're infected, they might go inside your nerves and stay there for a very long time happily. And eventually, whenever your immune system goes down or something happens, they might come and erupt out. So, when we talk about the herpes simplex virus 1, so 1 and 2 are very similar. They will show a very similar clinical picture, just their areas are demarcated. So, anything that is above the waist, right? Any kind of herpes that is above the waist, that is going to be 1, and any kind of herpes that is below the waist is going to be 2. Right? So when we talk about above the waist, it is going to go into the latency in the trigeminal ganglia, which is the one that is supplying your facial area. And when we talk about below the waist, it is going to be in your sacral ganglia, right? So in the clinical pictures, what do you see? You see in herpes simplex virus 1, because everything is going to be above the waist, it is going to be a herpes labialis. That means herpes around your lips area. You can have temporal bone encephalitis, you can have Moilleritz meningitis, and even dendritic ulcers in your eyes, right? Or specifically your cornea. So these are the ones that are the clinical features for herpes simplex virus 1. Now, when we talk about HSV2, that means everything below the waist. So you are going to have genital vesicular ulcers that are painful with inguinal lymphadenopathy that is also painful. And you can also have certain congenital manifestations. So these are how you see these uh, ulcers. So they can be genital ulcers, they can be ulcers in different parts of the body that are fluid filled, and that is what you call as vesicular, right? That means fluid filled. So they are painful. One important thing is that they are multiple. So you will see multiple ulcers in the at the same time. So they are multiple, right? They are painful. They even have lymphadenopathy that is also painful, and they are fluid filled. So this is one of the causes of painful genital ulcers, right? That is going to be your HSV2. Now, when we talk about the varicella zoster virus, so it causes varicella, which is called as chicken pox, right? So we have had chicken pox in our lives. Remember, when we were young, we used to have maybe some of them were infected with chicken pox. So this is something which is called as varicella, and it is going into latency in the trigeminal ganglia. So these are vesicular rashes that are centripetal. So again, fluid-filled rashes that are centripetal means they start from the stomach and then they go around your body, and they have all stages of the ulcers at the same time. That means these rashes that you have, some of them can be fluid-filled, right? So there, some of them will be fluid-filled, some of them may be crustating. So crusts are formed. Some of them are just erupting. So they are just erupting. So these are different stages of the rash that can happen, and all of them can happen at the same time. Now, if a mother has, catches chickenpox during her first trimester of pregnancy, she can have congenital varicella. So, first trimester of pregnancy, if she catches chickenpox. So, what is going to happen to the baby? So, there is some, because organogenesis is going to take place during that time. So, baby can have limb hypoplasia. That means if you see the limbs, how they are very small and they are hypoplastic. So, these are limb hypoplasia, and you can have skin lesions, something like this. These are called as cicatricial lesions. So these are cicatricial lesions, and this is what a congenital varicella syndrome would look like. Then we have another disease called as zoster. It is also called as shingles or zona. So this is when the latency was there in the trigeminal nerves, and now after some kind of an immunocompromised state, this has erupted out. So usually you end up getting similar rashes, but only in one quadrant or dermatome. So dermatomes are made, that means whatever area that nerve is going to supply. So it's usually unilateral. So there's going to be one level of phase being involved. So it is a unilateral or a dermatomal involvement, and you're going to have these rashes and rashes, and now they are called as the zoster, right? When we come to the staining, all of these 1, 2, and 3, all of them, we can do a Zang smear where we have taken the sample and we will see multinucleated giant cells. Also, I talked about the inclusion bodies because this is herpes, it is DNA virus, so it is going to be intranuclear, and we are going to see the Cowdry type A, which was the Lipschitz bodies, right? Egg inoculation is in your chorioallantoic membrane. Remember, I told you the outermost layer because herpes produces multinucleated giant cells, which I want to see, and they also produce big, big pox, and I want to see them in the light. So they are in the outermost membrane, which is your chorioallantoic membrane, and they are there along with the pox virus. In the cell lines, they show the ballooning of the cell. So because giant cells, they are multinucleated giant cells, big cells, that is also leading to ballooning of the cell lines. So that was your alpha family, which contained 1, 2, and 3 herpes, human herpes virus 1, 2, and 3. Moving on to the beta family now. So when we talk about the beta family, we have 5, 6, and 7. 5 is called as the cytomegalo virus, right? And 6 and 7 are just called as human herpes virus 6 and 7. So CMV is called as cytomegalovirus. So 1, 2, 3 are together, 5, 6, and 7 are together, and 4 and 8 are together. So when we talk about 5, again, because I said herpes families goes into some form of a latency. So here the CMV goes into a latency in the glands, which could be your salivary glands and even your kidneys. So, because it is there in your salivary glands, it does end up causing something which is called as a Kissing's disease. So, it causes your Kissing's disease also. Now, coming to the clinical manifestations, the most important manifestations is going to be your torch infection, right? So, torch is the group of congenital infections in which your C is for your CMV. And it is one of the most common cause to be associated with congenital infections. One of the most common cause to be associated with congenital infections, causing chorioretinitis, microcephaly, and hepatosplenomegaly. Now, another thing that I want you to remember is that this also causes calcifications, and they are ventricular calcifications, right? So, CMV causes ventricular calcifications in the brain, right? Coming to the staining, if we take up the sample and we do an H&E staining, we are going to see the inclusion bodies, and we are going to see both intranuclear and intracytoplasmic, and they are called as the owl's eye appearance. See, just see how this is looking. It looks like these two big cells with nuclei looking like owl's eye. When we talk about serology, we are going to do the CMV specific antigen, which is called as PP65 antigen, and IgM antibody detection can be done. Finally, talking about the human fibroblast cell lines, these are the cell lines that can be used for the isolation of CMV. Now, coming to the HHV 6 and 7, they are going into latency in the T cells. In the T cells, it is called as, it's also known as the HSV 6 is called as the human, it is also called as the sixth disease. And it causes roseola infanticum or exanthum septuatum, where you're going to see these kind of a maculopapular rashes. right? So maculopapular rashes are seen all over the child's body. It looks like roseola infanticum or exanthum subitum. Now coming to your gamma family, remember I told you 4 and 8 are together, so they are the gamma family. And in 4, it is the one which is called as the Epstein-Barr virus. So it is the Epstein-Barr virus, and HHV8 is called as the Kaposi sarcoma. So whenever we talk about the sarcoma, we're talking about some kind of a soft tissue tumor. They go into the latency in B cells. So B cells are the one that if there is any issue there, if there is going to be any issue in the B cells, this is going to lead to a lot of carcinomas, right? So this is going to lead to a lot of cancers or carcinomas. Coming to Epstein-Barr virus, so in clinical manifestations, it causes infectious mononucleosis. It causes the Cushing's disease or the glandular disease. Then it causes a lot of malignancies like your Burkitt lymphoma, nasopharyngeal carcinoma, Hodgkin's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So these are all the different kind of malignancies it can cause, which is your Epstein-Barr virus. It also shows us the heterophile agglutination test, which is called as the Paul Bunel test. So Paul Bunel test is done for which virus? It is going to be done for your Epstein-Barr virus, where antibodies against the sheep RBCs are seen in the patient's serum. So we take the sheep RBCs and we make it react with the patient's serum because there are some antigens that are present on the sheep RBCs that are very similar to the antigens that are present on the Epstein-Barr virus. So they are called as heterophile antigens, right? They share similar structures. So if I want to check antibodies against Epstein-Barr virus in a patient's serum, I can just take the sheep RBCs, make them react, and because these antigens are similar, the antibodies against Epstein-Barr virus will also attach to these sheep RBCs, leading to their lysis, leading to their breakdown. That is something that we can see, and it is called as the Paul Bunel test. Now, coming to human herpes virus 8, which is called as Kaposi sarcoma. So, I told you it is going to be a soft tissue sarcoma of the vascular origin. We're going to see purple to reddish purple growth. So, this is what it looks like. It is going to be a reddish to purple growth. Other than that, it can also cause your primary effusion lymphoma and it can also cause your Castleman's disease, right?